I drop my hospital badge on the kitchen counter, still wearing blue scrubs from my 12-hour shift. Every muscle aches, but Nina will be hungry. Freezer door open, I scan for something quick: chicken tenders, frozen vegetables, good enough. Nora, could you come in here? Dad's voice floats from the dining room, carrying that artificial calm that always precedes trouble. Just a minute. I slide the chicken into the microwave, punch in 3 minutes. Starting dinner for Nina. This can't wait. I'm Addo. The microwave hums as I shuffle toward the dining room, still in my compression socks. Mom and Dad sit at opposite ends of the rectangular oak table, a formal arrangement we normally reserve for Thanksgiving or when Pastor Miller visits. Papers spread between them, crisp white against the scarred wood. Nina's wheelchair is positioned at the fourth side. Dad's gray-flecked mustache twitches when I enter. Sit down. No greeting, no "how was your shift," just the command. I lower myself into the remaining chair, noting Mom's pinched expression and the way Nina studies her hands folded in her lap. "What's going on?" I ask, trying to ignore the dread pooling in my stomach. Dad slides a document toward me, his signet ring catching the overhead light. "Your mother and I are getting older. We need to formalize the arrangements for Nina's care." I scan the first page. Caregiver agreement stretches across the top in bold letters. Further down, responsible party, Nora Ann Reed. I don't understand. "It's simple," Mom says, voice soft but unyielding. "You'll cash out your $401 to create a care fund for Nina. Then you'll contribute $2,000 monthly toward her ongoing expenses." The room tilts slightly. $2,000? Every month? Dad leans forward, fingers steepled. "You make 70 grand as a nurse. That's over 4,000 a month. We're only asking for half." "But my student loans, my rent?" "Don't hide behind student loans." Mom cuts in, suddenly sharp. "You've got 60 grand in your 401. Cash it out, you'll get at least 40,000 after taxes." My hands start trembling. I press them flat against the table, fighting the nausea climbing my throat. This seems very sudden. "Bae." "Nothing sudden about it," Dad says. "You've been responsible for your sister since the accident. Now we're just putting it in writing." I stare at the papers. My name repeated throughout. Responsible party. Financial obligations. Legally binding. My vision blurs around the edges as I try to process what's happening. "Sign today, and we can file the paperwork tomorrow," Dad adds, pushing a pen toward me. Memory flashes. 16-year-old me sitting on Nina's hospital bed, braiding her hair while machines beep around us. "I'll always take care of you." "I promise then," voice breaking. "This is all my fault, but I'll fix it somehow." Nina's eyes catch mine across the table now, then slide away. She hasn't spoken a word. Why is this all on me? The question comes out smaller than intended. "We're all family." Dad's face hardens. "Because you're the reason she's in that wheelchair." The familiar knife of guilt twists deeper, but beneath it stirs something new, a question I've never allowed myself to voice. 11 years of this, and now you want it in writing? "The arrangement has always been clear," Mom says, smoothing invisible wrinkles from the tablecloth. "You chose to feed stray cats instead of walking Nina to the bus stop. Your irresponsibility cost her everything." Each word lands with practiced precision. I've heard this story thousands of times. 14-year-old Nina missed her bus because I wasn't there to walk her. She tried to catch it at the next stop, crossed the street without looking, and a delivery truck couldn't stop in time. My fault. Always my fault. I need time to think about this. My voice steadies unexpectedly. Dad's eyebrows shoot up. "There's nothing to think about. You owe this to your sister." "Just a day or two," I insist. "Sign now," Mom says, "or we'll tell everyone at the hospital how you're abandoning your responsibility. Your supervisor at Denver Memorial, your church friends, everyone will know." The threat hangs between us. They know exactly how I've built my life around what happened, how the hospital staff respects my dedication to my paralyzed sister, how the church community admires my sacrifice. "You wouldn't do that. Try us." Dad's voice drops dangerously low. "Pastor Miller thinks you're practically a saint. Imagine his disappointment." Nina still says nothing, her wheelchair positioned perfectly to form a barrier between me and my parents. I reach for the pen, fingers trembling, hold it above the signature line. My entire future condensed to a single stroke of ink. Then I place the pen down gently. "I'll talk to you tomorrow." Dad starts to speak, but I'm already standing, legs unsteady beneath me. In my bedroom, I lock the door and sink to the floor, back against the wall. My hands shake too violently to text. I scroll through my contacts, finding a name I haven't called in years. The phone rings 3 times before she answers. Nora? Evelyn sounds surprised. It's been forever. Are you okay? The concern in her voice breaks something loose inside me. Tears flow freely now as I struggle to explain. They want everything I have. My retirement, my paycheck. I don't know what to do. Slow down, Evelyn says, lawyer mode activating. Start at the beginning. Tell me exactly what happened. Between sobs, I explain the ambush, the papers, the threats. Evelyn listens without interruption, then asks the question that stops my breath. Nora, have you ever seen the actual police report from Nina's accident? No, I whisper, memories rearranging themselves like puzzle pieces. They handled everything. I was 16, devastated. They told me what happened. Silence stretches between us before I voice the thought forming in the darkest corner of my mind. What if it wasn't my fault after all? Oh. The coffee shop buzzes with quiet conversation, a sanctuary far from my parents' reach. 3 days since their ambush, and my hands still tremble holding the ceramic mug. Steam curls upward, disappearing like the life I thought I knew. Evelyn slides into the booth across from me, briefcase thudding against the wooden table. Gone is the college friend with wild curls and infectious laughter. This Evelyn wears a tailored charcoal suit, hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, eyes sharp with purpose. You look terrible, she says, no cushioning. That's the Evelyn I remember. 12-hour shifts plus avoiding my family will do that. I attempt a smile that feels more like a grimace. Haven't been back to the house except to sleep since, you know. She unlatches her briefcase with twin clicks. I found the police report. The words hang between us like a physical thing. I stare at the manila folder she places on the table, its edges crisp and official, containing either my imprisonment or my freedom. How bad is it? My voice comes out small, childlike. Evelyn doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she opens the folder, turns it to face me. Read it yourself. The black type blurs before my eyes. Location of accident: Westridge Road in Maple, 3.8 miles from our neighborhood. Time: 3:42 p.m. Vehicle involved: 1,998 Honda motorcycle. Driver: Jason Miller, age 17. Passenger: Nina Reed, age 14. This can't be right. I flip through the pages, scanning witness statements. This says she was on a motorcycle with some boy, miles from where I fed the cats. Keep reading. Evelyn's voice remains steady. Witness testimony jumps out at me. Female passenger was laughing, arms wrapped around driver's waist. Motorcycle attempted to beat yellow light. Delivery truck had green signal when collision occurred, but they told me she missed her bus because I wasn't there. That she was trying to catch it at the next stop when my throat closes around the words. They lied, Nora. Evelyn's fingers cover mine, warm and solid. They lied about everything. The coffee shop walls seem to tilt and sway. 11 years of guilt. 11 years of sacrificed dreams, of working double shifts, of apologizing with every breath for a crime I never committed. Nina was joyriding with her secret boyfriend. Evelyn continues, voice low. Jason Miller, captain of the JV basketball team. Your parents forbade her from seeing him, remember? Too old, too wild. Memories resurface, Nina whispering on the phone late at night, mysterious text messages, sudden interest in basketball games. Details I'd forgotten, buried under years of atonement. Multiple witnesses confirmed it. Evelyn flips to another page. Nina skipped the bus entirely that day to meet Jason. They were heading to the lake when they ran the light. My stomach heaves. I bolt for the bathroom, barely making it before emptying my breakfast into the toilet. Cold sweat beads on my forehead as I rinse my mouth, staring at my reflection hollow-eyed, pale, a ghost formed of other people's lies. When I return, Evelyn has ordered me fresh tea. The police report waits, inexorable as Judgment Day. The hospital records, I whisper, lowering myself carefully into the booth, the ones I wasn't allowed to see because I was too emotional. They knew from the beginning, didn't they? Evelyn nods, her lawyer face on. I spoke with the nurse who was there when Nina was brought in. Your parents immediately started constructing the narrative. Right there in the trauma room, while doctors were working on Nina, Your father was already saying you were responsible. The betrayal carves through me, a physical pain radiating from my chest outward. Why would they do this to me? Money, initially, then control. Evelyn pulls out more documents. Your grandmother left you $20,000 when she died, remember? 3 months after Nina's accident, your parents borrowed it for emergency medical expenses, but Nina's care was covered by insurance. Another memory surfaces, signing papers while crying in Nina's hospital room, Dad's hand heavy on my shoulder. For your sister's future, he'd said. They made me delay college. My voice sounds distant, foreign. Said Nina needed me at home for her recovery. I took night classes while working days, watching her between shifts. They were, and your nursing degree? Who chose that career path? The question hits like a slap. Mom said it made sense, that I'd be better equipped to care for Nina. Yet nurses make significantly less than the engineering career you originally planned. Evelyn slides another document forward. Your starting salary would have been nearly double what you make now. My mind races, recalculating 11 years of manipulation. The guilt trips when I mentioned moving out. The constant reminders about my responsibility. Nina's occasional tearful apologies that never made sense until now. They've been planning this formal agreement for months. I realized aloud. That's why they kept asking about my 401. Evelyn nods. Without this document, they have no legal basis for their demands. They're scared, Nora. Of what? Losing their cash cow? Bitterness rises like bile. That's part of it. Evelyn hesitates. I did some digging. Your parents are underwater financially, second mortgage, credit card debt, medical bills not covered by insurance. Your father lost his job 6 months ago. The revelation should soften my anger, but instead it hardens into something cold and precise. He never told me. All those church fundraisers, the respect he commands in the community, it's a facade. People do desperate things when they're afraid. Evelyn says. Your mother had an emotional breakdown at the church fundraiser last month. Pastor Miller thought it was about Nina's condition, but it was financial pressure. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. And Nina? Did she know? She had to, Evelyn confirms gently. She was 14, not 4. She remembers the accident. The betrayal from my sister cuts deepest of all. 11 years of silent complicity while watching me sacrifice everything. They're not cartoon villains, Evelyn cautions, reading my expression. They're genuinely scared of losing their home, unable to fund Nina's therapies without your income. Your mother truly believes Nina's future depends on your sacrifice. That doesn't make it right. My voice hardens. No, it doesn't. Evelyn closes the folder with finality. The good news is they have no case. The statute of limitations expired years ago. Even if Nina's accident had been your fault, which it absolutely wasn't, they have no legal standing to demand ongoing support. For the first time in days, I feel something like hope stirring. So what do? We gather more evidence. The police report is just the beginning. Evelyn ticks off points on her fingers. We need witness statements, Nina's ex, boyfriend's testimony, your Aunt Laura who overheard your parents at the hospital. Jason Miller still lives in Denver. I recall suddenly. He coaches basketball at Westridge High. Perfect. And I know someone else who can help. Evelyn pulls out her phone. Marcus Bennett, investigative journalist specializing in family frauds. He broke that story last year about the couple who faked their child's illness for donations. The magnitude of what we're planning finally hits me. This will destroy my family. Evelyn's gaze softens slightly. Your family destroyed itself the moment they decided to sacrifice your future for their convenience. But this isn't about revenge, Nora. It's about freedom, yours and Nina's. I stare at the police report, at the truth concealed for 11 years. Will Nina hate me for this? She might initially. Change is terrifying, especially for someone dependent on others. Evelyn reaches across the table, her hand warm over mine. But you don't have to face this alone anymore. You have me, Marcus, your aunt. People who want the truth. For the first time in 11 years, the weight on my shoulders lightens incrementally. The path ahead remains daunting, but no longer impossible. Okay, I say, straightening my spine. Let's do this. As we gather the documents, planning our next steps, I picture 16-year-old me sobbing at Nina's bedside, promising eternal care for a crime I never committed. That girl deserves justice as much as the woman I've become deserves freedom. We have the truth now, and truth, once uncovered, cannot be buried again. That same day, I located Jason Morgan's profile on social media, my finger hovering over the message button. His life appears perfectly ordinary wedding photos, with a brunette in a lace dress, 2 small children with his square jaw, a suburban home with white columns. Nothing suggests he carries the same burden I do. Are you sure about this? Evelyn asks, peering over my shoulder at the laptop screen. No, but what choice do I have? I click the button and type a simple message. Were you with Nina the day of her accident? My phone buzzes within minutes. A local number I don't recognize. Nora? It's Jason. I got your message. His voice sounds deeper than I remember, but with the same slight hesitancy. I've been waiting 11 years for this call. My heart hammers against my ribs. What do you mean? I've carried this guilt for years. His words rush out, unstoppable. Nina begged me not to tell anyone she was on my motorcycle. She wasn't wearing a helmet, said it would mess up her hair for the party that weekend. The world tilts beneath me. I grip the edge of the table to steady myself. Your parents showed up at the hospital while you were getting coffee. They told me if I ever mentioned the motorcycle, they'd press charges for endangering a minor. His voice cracks. I was 17, scared out of my mind. When they started telling everyone about the bus stop and the stray cats, I just went along with it. Why are you telling me now? My voice sounds strange to my own ears, because it's eating me alive. And my wife saw your message. She's been telling me for years I need to come clean. He pauses. Nina knows I'm calling you. We've stayed in touch. My sister knew. All this time, she knew. Will you sign a statement about what really happened? I ask. Already typing it up? I'll have it notarized tomorrow. After I hang up, Evelyn squeezes my shoulder. One more piece of evidence. Now let's call your Aunt Laura. Aunt Laura's testimony comes easily, too easily, as though she's been waiting for permission to unburden herself. I was bringing flowers to Nina's room when I overheard your parents in the hallway, she explains, her voice wavering. Your mother said, don't let anyone know she was with that boy. We'll say Nora was supposed to walk her to the bus. And your father answered, Nora's always been responsible. She'll accept it was her fault. Laura's voice breaks. I should have said something then. I'm so sorry, Nora. By Sunday afternoon, I have everything I need. I time my arrival for when Nina is at physical therapy with her weekend caregiver. The living room seems smaller somehow as I stand before my parents, police report clutched in my hand. Dad looks up from his newspaper, eyes narrowing at my expression. What's going on? I know the truth about the accident, I say, my voice steadier than I expected. It happened miles from the bus stop, on Jason's motorcycle. The color drains from Dad's face. His hands clench the armrests of his recliner, knuckles white. Mom recovers first. We were protecting Nina from scandal. You were old enough to handle the responsibility. She says it like it's reasonable, like destroying one daughter to protect another makes perfect sense. You made me believe I destroyed my sister's life. My voice doesn't rise, but something in it makes them both flinch. For 11 years, I've carried that guilt. Dad leans forward, desperate. It doesn't change your obligation to your sister. I never abandoned Nina, and I never will. The words come from someplace new inside me, a place that's been buried under years of manufactured guilt. But I'm not signing those papers. Not tomorrow, not ever. I turn and walk out, back straight, head high. The front door closes behind me with a quiet click that feels more final than any slam. Evelyn waits in her car at the curb, engine running. Her eyes widen when she sees me. You look 10 pounds lighter. The tears come then, sudden and overwhelming, not tears of pain but of release, as though my body is shedding years of accumulated poison. It worked. I manage between sobs. They admitted everything. This is just the beginning, Evelyn says, pulling away from the curb. We're going to set things right. My phone buzzes with a text from Aunt Laura. My guest room is ready whenever you need it. I should have spoken up years ago. Then Marcus calls with news. I've been looking into your parents' finances. There's evidence they've been using your contributions for their mortgage, not just Nina's care. This is exactly the kind of family fraud case that needs exposure. As we drive away from the house where I've been imprisoned by guilt for more than a decade, I watch it shrink in the side mirror. For the first time, I allow myself to wonder, do I push forward now, or give them time to come clean on their own? The answer forms clearly in my mind. No more time. No more lies. I need to talk to Nina when she gets home from therapy. My sister needs to know that I've discovered the truth, and that I don't blame her for staying silent all these years. We've both been victims in different ways. It's time for us both to be free. On Monday morning, I take a sip of cold coffee, grimacing at the bitter taste as I stare at the whiteboard in Evelyn's office. The timeline stretches across the entire wall, 11 years of manipulation mapped out in neat blue marker. Each sticky note represents a moment when my parents leveraged my guilt to extract money, time, or emotional support. We need to anticipate their next move, Evelyn says, capping her marker. Her crisp pantsuit and steady voice ground me as I try to process the magnitude of what we're uncovering. They won't just roll over now that you've confronted them with the police report. The fluorescent lights hum overhead as I nod, forcing myself to look at the board with clinical detachment. My nursing training kicks in, assess the situation, identify risks, develop a plan of action. Martin always counterattacks when cornered. I say, pointing to incidents in 2018 and 2021. Here, when I questioned why my inheritance from Grandma went to Nina's treatments, he told Pastor Miller I was becoming bitter about my Christian duty. And here, when I tried to move to my own apartment, he claimed Nina had a medical setback that required round-the-clock care. Marcus enters with a stack of manila folders, setting them on the conference table with a solid thump. His investigative journalist instincts have proven invaluable over the past week. You were right about the financial angle, he says, opening the top folder. I tracked your contributions against Nina's medical expenses for the past 5 years. Less than 40% of what you gave them actually went to her care. Number 9. My stomach tightens as I scan the spreadsheets. Where did the rest go? Mortgage payments, credit card bills, a fishing boat purchased 3 years ago. Marcus taps a highlighted section. And this is interesting, they've been making payments to a vacation timeshare in Florida since 2020. The betrayal stings fresh, but I push the emotion away. This isn't about hurt feelings anymore. It's about systematic fraud. We're building this case exactly like we would for a patient safety investigation. I tell them, falling back on familiar professional territory, documentation, pattern recognition, witness statements. Evelyn nods approvingly. That's exactly right. Emotional confrontations won't work with manipulators this skilled. We need to dismantle their control systematically. Over the next few hours, we organize our evidence with military precision. Jason's written account of the accident and the threats my parents made afterward. Financial records showing the pattern of misappropriation. Medical records revealing treatments that were billed but never happened. I feel a strange calm settling over me as we work. For years, I've approached my family situation with guilt and fear. Now I'm analyzing it with the same clear-eyed focus I bring to complicated patient cases. Marcus taps his pen against the table. The insurance angle is particularly concerning. There are several claims filed for Nina's equipment that never materialized. That crosses into potential fraud territory. I've spoken with 3 of your colleagues at Denver Memorial, Evelyn adds. They've provided statements about your exhaustion from carrying this double burden. Dr. Harriman was particularly supportive, said he's watched you fall asleep, standing up during 12-hour shifts after being up all night with Nina. The office phone rings, startling us. Evelyn answers, her expression shifting as she listens. Yes, she's here. I see. We'll review it immediately. She hangs up and turns to me. Your parents have hired Patricia Lambert. The family support attorney? Marcus frowns. That's a serious escalation. Evelyn nods grimly. My assistant just received a formal demand letter. They're citing moral obligation and threatening to petition for guardianship of Nina if you don't comply with their financial demands. My hands begin to shake, the first crack in my professional detachment. Patricia Lambert has a reputation for aggressive litigation in family support cases. The thought of a legal battle sends panic coursing through me. Can they do that? Take guardianship of Nina? No, Evelyn says firmly. But they're counting on your fear to make you fold. Legal fees alone could drain what savings you have left. Marcus studies my face. You okay? I take a deep breath, steadying myself. The initial shock recedes, replaced by a surprising clarity. They're trying to scare me because they know I have the truth. I look between my allies, determination hardening inside me. How far are they willing to go to maintain this lie? The answer hangs unspoken in the air between us. My parents have spent 11 years constructing an elaborate deception. They've manipulated our entire community. They've stolen my money, my time, my peace. They won't surrender easily, but neither will I. 3 days after gathering more evidence, I spread the documents across Evelyn's polished mahogany conference table, each piece of evidence meticulously labeled and organized in chronological order. The police report sits at the center, its official letterhead a stark reminder of the truth I was never allowed to see. "This is everything?" Evelyn asks, reviewing our preparation checklist. "Every scrap of evidence from the last 11 years. I adjust my reading glasses, still unaccustomed to their weight after years of neglecting my vision for more pressing concerns. These are the new documents, plus the old ones that we found, including Jason's sworn statement about the motorcycle accident, Nina's medical records showing treatments that never happened, and bank statements tracking where my money actually went." Marcus enters with a thick manila folder. His investigative journalist precision has proven invaluable over these weeks of preparation. "I found something." He places a document on the table. "Your parents applied for a second mortgage 6 months ago, using your signature." My stomach clenches. I never signed anything. "Exactly." He points to the signature line. "It's a forgery. The bank's forensic document examiner confirmed it yesterday." Evelyn nods, adding the document to our evidence binder. This moves beyond emotional manipulation into criminal territory. I study the forged signature, recognizing Dad's distinctive pressure points. Even his forgeries bear the imprint of his controlling nature. "I've filed the restraining order against your parents." Evelyn continues, "That should prevent further harassment while we complete our preparations." The whiteboard behind her displays our timeline, 11 years of systematic manipulation, reduced to bullet points and arrows. Something about seeing it visualized this way strips away the emotional haze that clouded my judgment for so long. Nina's medical records were the final piece, I say, tapping a folder containing documents from 3 different specialists. Half the treatments they claimed my money paid for never happened. The physical therapy center has no record of the intensive sessions they described at church fundraisers. Marcus whistles softly. "This isn't just a family squabble anymore. It's financial fraud." "We're not just exposing a lie," I say, my voice steadier than I expected. "We're dismantling a decade of fraud." "For my another way." My phone vibrates against the table. Hospital administration. I hesitate before answering. Nora Reed speaking. "Miss Reed, this is Melissa from HR. Your immediate presence is requested regarding serious allegations about your professional conduct." Ice spreads through my chest. "What allegations?" "Your father called our ethics hotline this morning. He claims you've been stealing prescription medications to sell for personal profit." The accusation steals my breath. I place the phone on speaker so Evelyn and Marcus can hear. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I manage, ending the call. "They're escalating," Evelyn says, already gathering documents. "They discovered our investigation and they're striking at your most vulnerable point." My career. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. Everything I've worked for. Marcus shakes his head. "It's a desperate move. They're hoping you'll back down to protect your reputation." I need to address this immediately. I stand, gathering my credentials and professional portfolio. The hospital has cameras in all medication areas. The accusation will fall apart under scrutiny. "I'll come with you," Evelyn offers, "as your attorney." 2 hours later, I sit across from my supervisor, Janet, while hospital security reviews medication access logs. The tension in my shoulders eases as Janet studies the documentation. "These allegations have no merit," she concludes, closing the file. "Your dispensing record is impeccable, Nora. I'm sorry you're going through this family situation." In the parking lot afterward, Evelyn squeezes my hand. "You handled that perfectly. Professional, composed, nothing like the panicked reaction your parents expected." "Should I confront them now?" I ask, watching the afternoon sun glint off hospital windows. "Or wait until our case is airtight?" Back at Evelyn's office the following morning, we convene for our final strategy session. The evidence binders stand ready, each document tagged and indexed. Marcus has assembled a multimedia presentation displaying the timeline of manipulation. "I've contacted everyone who witnessed their manipulation over the years," Marcus reports. "Former neighbors, church members, even Nina's doctors who received conflicting stories about her care." The financial evidence alone is enough to shut them down completely, Evelyn adds. The forged mortgage application gives us significant leverage. I study the assembled materials, the culmination of weeks of methodical work. The transformation feels almost physical, the constant weight of guilt replaced by clarity of purpose. We're ready, I say, my voice steady. It's time to end this. On Wednesday next week, doorbell chimes, pulling me from my thoughts as I smooth the wrinkles from my navy slacks. My phone buzzes with a text from Evelyn. We're in position. Stay calm. These past weeks have felt like training for battle, gathering evidence, building legal arguments, documenting years of manipulation. Now, standing in my childhood living room, watching relatives file in with solemn expressions, I realize no amount of preparation could prepare me for this. Mom gestures everyone toward the dining room, transformed into what can only be described as a tribunal. Extra chairs circle our oak table, each position set with a water glass and notepad like some twisted board meeting. Dad stands at the head, shoulders squared in his Sunday suit. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. He begins, voice carrying the practiced sincerity that once fooled me too. This is difficult, but family matters require family solutions. I scan the faces Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia, Mom's sister Grace, two elders from church, Pastor Miller with his Bible placed precisely before him, and a silver-haired man in an expensive suit who must be their attorney. Nina sits in her usual spot, eyes fixed on her folded hands. Dad continues while Mom distributes stapled packets. For those who don't know, Nora has been responsible for Nina's care since the accident 11 years ago. Recently, she's decided to abandon that responsibility. The accusation lands like a physical blow, exactly as intended. Shocked murmurs ripple through the room. That's not what's happening, I interject, but Dad raises his hand. Please, let me finish. His voice drops, thick with manufactured emotion. We've covered Nina's expenses as best we could, but Martin's health issues have made working full-time impossible. First lie, he was fired for poor performance. Mom takes over seamlessly, opening a binder of medical bills. These are just from the past 6 months. Without Nora's contribution, Nina's physical therapy will stop entirely. Second lie, insurance covers most of those therapies. Nora makes $70,000 a year as a nurse. Dad adds, eyes glistening with tears that appear on command. We're only asking for $2,000 monthly. She has retirement savings she could access for the initial care fund. Uncle Robert turns to me, confusion and disappointment etched across his face. How could you do this to your sister? The room feels suddenly airless, walls closing in as each relative absorbs the carefully crafted narrative. Pastor Miller clears his throat, his expression grave. Perhaps Christian mediation would help resolve this. Nora, your sister needs you. Surely we can come to an arrangement that honors your family obligations? The attorney slides papers toward the empty space before me. I've drawn up a simple caregiver agreement. Once signed, we can ensure Nina's needs are met properly. Every eye turns expectantly toward me. This is exactly what they wanted. Public pressure, moral judgment, the weight of community expectation forcing my compliance. Nina remains silent, her continued muteness interpreted as confirmation of their story. My phone vibrates again in my pocket, the signal we arranged. I rise slowly, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. Before anyone signs anything, I'd like to introduce someone. On cue, the doorbell rings. Mom frowns, clearly annoyed at the interruption of their perfectly orchestrated intervention. Who could that be? She asks, suspicion edging her tone. My attorney. I answer simply, watching her face pale. And a journalist who's been helping me investigate what really happened 11 years ago. Dad's hand tightens around his pen. This is a private family matter. It stopped being private when you invited the church elders and your lawyer. I walk to the front door without waiting for permission. Evelyn enters first, every inch the professional in her charcoal suit, followed by Marcus with his recorder and press credentials visible. Behind them, Aunt Laura steps in, Mom's youngest sister, who worked at the hospital when Nina was admitted. What is she doing here? Mom demands, rising from her seat. Supporting the truth, Aunt Laura replies, moving to stand beside me. Pastor Miller looks bewildered as Evelyn introduces herself. I'm Evelyn Carter, representing Nora Reed. I understand you've been discussing a caregiving agreement under false pretenses. This is absurd, Dad sputters, his practiced composure cracking. Nina has been paralyzed for 11 years because Nora failed to walk her to the bus. Everyone here knows the story. That's the story you told, I correct him, feeling strangely calm now that the moment has arrived. But it's not what happened, is it, Dad? Marcus sets up his recorder at the table's edge. Martin and Diane Reed, I'm Marcus Bennett with the Denver Chronicle. I've been investigating your financial arrangements regarding your daughter's care. Mom's face contorts with fury. How dare you bring strangers into our home to attack us? After everything we've done for Nina. After everything you've done? The words escape me as a harsh laugh. You've spent 11 years making me believe I destroyed my sister's life. You took my college fund, my inheritance from Grandma, and half my paycheck every month while telling me it was my responsibility. The room falls silent, relatives exchanging uncomfortable glances. Pastor Miller leans forward, uncertainty replacing his earlier confidence. Nora, these are serious accusations. Yes, they are. I turn to face the assembled family. Before anyone signs anything, there's something you all need to see. Evelyn opens her briefcase, removing manila folders for each person present. I catch Nina's eye across the table, seeing fear, and something else, perhaps relief. Nina, I say softly, after 11 years, don't you think it's time for the truth? Tears fill her eyes as she looks up, her fingers white-knuckled around the wheels of her chair. The folder before her contains what the others don't, photographs of her with Jason on his motorcycle, taken the morning of the accident. I've carried this for so long, she whispers, barely audible. Evelyn places the final folder in front of Pastor Miller. The police report, witness statements, and financial records documenting 11 years of systematic fraud. The accident happened 3.8 miles from the bus stop, on a motorcycle with Nina's boyfriend against her parents' rules. Uncle Robert opens his folder, color draining from his face as he scans the documents. This says the accident had nothing to do with missing the bus. Nothing whatsoever, I confirm, watching my parents' carefully constructed world begin to crumble. They lied to everyone, including me, from the moment Nina arrived at the hospital. Aunt Laura speaks up, her voice trembling slightly. I was there that day. I overheard Martin telling Diane to make sure no one knew Nina was with that boy on the motorcycle. They created the bus stop story before Nina even went into surgery. Pastor Miller turns to my father, shock evident in his expression. Is this true, Martin? The silence stretches, thick and suffocating, as the assembled family members turn to my parents, waiting for a denial that doesn't come. My mother's lips press into a thin, bloodless line. My father's jaw works soundlessly, his carefully constructed persona shattering under the weight of documented truth. Nina's voice breaks the silence, small but growing stronger with each word. I skipped the bus to ride with Jason. Mom and Dad always said Nora would be blamed because she was supposed to be watching me. Her eyes meet mine across the table. I let them do this to you. For 11 years, I stayed silent. The tears I've been holding back threatened to fall, but I blink them away. This isn't over yet. I'm sorry, Nina. I reached toward her, not quite touching. I would have helped you anyway. You never needed to lie. We all need to review these documents carefully, Pastor Miller says, his earlier certainty replaced by grave concern. Marcus steps forward, recorder in hand. I'd like to ask a few questions about the church fund that was established for Nina's treatments. The atmosphere in the room shifts palpably, fear giving way to the first stirrings of accountability. My parents, once so confident in their manipulation, now sit frozen as their elaborate construction begins its inevitable collapse. I remain standing, supported by allies who helped me uncover the truth, finally ready for whatever comes next. I stayed quiet out of shame. Nina bursts into tears, her tears streaming freely now. I begged Jason not to tell anyone. I was 14 and scared of getting in trouble. Her hands grip the wheels of her chair as she moves closer to the center of the room. When Mom and Dad blamed Nora, I was too terrified to contradict them. And then it just continued, year after year. Her voice breaks. I let you carry this burden for 11 years. I'm sorry. The transformation in the room is immediate and complete. Uncle Robert's face hardens as he looks at my father. Aunt Sarah moves to sit beside me, her hand finding mine. Pastor Miller closes his Bible with a soft thud. This betrayal goes against everything our community stands for. Pastor Miller says, standing to face my parents, you've manipulated not only your daughters but our entire church family. Church elder Mr. Peterson rises from his seat. The church fund was meant for Nina's treatments, not your mortgage. My parents shrink into themselves as the room turns against them. The power that once allowed them to control my life through guilt and manipulation evaporates in minutes. Marcus captures everything on his recorder. I have everything I need for a comprehensive story about family fraud. He says quietly to me, I never abandoned you, Nina, I say, moving to kneel beside her wheelchair. I just couldn't live with the lies anymore. Nina reaches for my hand, gripping it tightly. I knew it was wrong but was too scared to speak up. Can you ever forgive me? I pull her into a hug, feeling her shoulders shake with sobs. There's nothing to forgive. We were both victims here. Elder Peterson clears his throat. The church board will need to investigate the potential misuse of donated funds. Evelyn steps forward. And I should clarify for everyone present, Nora has no legal obligation to provide financial support for Nina, and never did. Pastor Miller nods solemnly. Moving forward, the church will ensure proper oversight of any support for Nina's care. My parents stand together, isolated in a room full of people who now see them clearly for the first time. Mom reaches for her purse, Dad for his keys, silent acknowledgement of their defeat. I think we're done here, Dad says flatly. No one stops them as they move toward the door. No one offers goodbyes. As the door closes behind them, I remain beside Nina, our hands still clasped together. The weight of 11 years lifts from my shoulders, leaving me lighter than I've felt since I was 16 years old. In the silence that follows their departure, Nina squeezes my hand. What happens now? She whispers. I look around at the people who stood with me today, Evelyn with her legal brilliance, Marcus with his investigative skills, Aunt Laura with her belated but crucial truth, Pastor Miller with his moral clarity. Now, I tell her, we start over. With the truth. The sunlight streaming through the window catches Nina's tears, but for the first time in 11 years, they shine not with guilt or shame, but with hope. 3 weeks after the confrontation, I unlock the door to Nina's new apartment, pushing it wide as she wheels herself across the threshold. Sunlight streams through uncovered windows, painting golden rectangles on the hardwood floors. The space is modest but completely accessible, lowered countertops, roll-under sink, wide doorways, and a bathroom large enough for her wheelchair to turn around comfortably. Is this really mine? Nina's voice carries a wonder I haven't heard since we were teenagers. All yours. I set down the box I'm carrying. The insurance settlement covered the first year's rent plus the accessibility modifications. No more asking permission to adjust your living space. Nina wheels herself through the apartment, running her hand along the countertops. Her shoulders have straightened in recent days, the perpetual curve of apology gradually disappearing. Dad called me again last night, she says, stopping at the window overlooking a small community garden. He sounds desperate. They should be worried. I unpack dishes into low cabinets. Pastor Miller told me the church board started an investigation into the misused funds. And that's not counting the insurance fraud charges. Nina nods, a complicated mixture of emotions crossing her face. 11 years of lies unraveling in 2 weeks. My phone buzzes with a text from Evelyn. Financial guardianship papers approved. All Nina's benefits will be properly managed now. I show Nina the message. No more intercepted checks or diverted funds. She smiles, then wheels to the couch where I join her. Have you been sleeping? The question catches me off guard. Actually, yes. For the first time in forever. Last night I slept 8 uninterrupted hours without guilt-laden dreams of Nina falling or crying out for help. How about you? I keep waking up thinking I need to call them, then remembering I don't have to report to anyone anymore. She adjusts her position. Yesterday I applied for those disability benefits they always said I wouldn't qualify for. The ones they told you required my support to receive? Exactly those. She laughs, a sound I'd almost forgotten. Turns out I've been eligible for a decade. I open another box marked kitchen and begin sorting through utensils. I enrolled in the nurse practitioner program. Nina's eyes widen. The one you've talked about for years? Starting next semester. Without $2,000 leaving my account every month, I can actually afford tuition and a small apartment near campus. The golden afternoon light shifts as we continue unpacking. 3 nurses from my unit arrive with dinner and more boxes. Marcia, the charge nurse, who has watched me stumble through exhausted shifts for years, hugs me fiercely. We've started a rotating schedule to help Nina with anything she needs while you're in class, she says. The entire unit signed up. Nina accepts their embrace with tears in her eyes. I never knew how many people cared. After they leave, we sit together on her new patio as evening settles around us. Crickets chirp from the community garden below. Nina's apartment feels nothing like our parents' house. No heaviness, no walking on eggshells, no constant reminders of obligation. For years I thought caring meant carrying everyone's burdens. I say, watching a hummingbird dart among the potted flowers Marcia brought. Now I see it means helping people stand on their own. Nina reaches for my hand. I should have told you the truth years ago. We were both trapped in different ways. 6 months later, I stand before the whiteboard in Denver Memorial's Trauma Center, leading orientation for new nurses. My scrubs are the same blue, but everything else has changed. My small apartment near campus is filled with plants and books. My student loans are on a manageable repayment plan. Most importantly, the weight crushing my chest for 11 years has lifted. Remember, I tell the wide-eyed nurses, your first responsibility is to advocate for your patients. Sometimes that means standing up to family members who claim to know what's best. And, after my shift, I drive to Nina's apartment for our weekly dinner. She's mastered cooking from her wheelchair, and the smell of lasagna greets me at the door. How's the online program going? I ask, setting my bag down. 3 A's so far. Pride colors her voice. The disability advocacy course is my favorite. I'm helping 2 families navigate the system our parents exploited. We eat at her accessible table, discussing future plans rather than past mistakes. When she mentions our parents' latest attempt at reconciliation, I don't feel the usual twist of anxiety. I told them the same thing I always do. I say, I'll consider a relationship when they take full responsibility and make amends to the people they hurt. Nina nods. They're still talking about family obligation and forgiveness without acknowledging what they did. Their choice. I take another bite of lasagna. I don't need anyone's permission to create my own life anymore. On the 1-year anniversary of the confrontation, Nina and I drive to the city park where I used to feed stray cats as a teenager. The autumn leaves crunch under her wheelchair as I push her along the path to the small clearing where the feeding station once stood. Remember when I couldn't even look at cats without feeling guilty? I ask, helping her navigate a bumpy section of trail. Nina laughs. And now we're building a support network for families dealing with spinal cord injuries. The Reed Sisters Foundation launched last month with funding from a settlement with our parents' insurance company. We've already helped 3 families navigate medical systems without financial exploitation, providing grants for accessibility modifications and legal support to protect vulnerable patients. Later that evening, we attend Nina's physical therapy milestone celebration. She demonstrates her improved upper body strength by transferring from wheelchair to treatment table without assistance, earning applause from the gathered therapists and fellow patients. When asked to say a few words, Nina wheels to the center of the room. The heaviest burden wasn't my paralysis, she tells the group, her voice steady and clear. It was the lies. Watching her speak with such confidence, I feel a sense of completion. The truth hasn't just set us free, it's shown us who was really there for us all along. Not the parents who claimed exclusive rights to our loyalty, but the community that rallied around us when we finally spoke our truth. As we leave the celebration, Nina asks, do you ever wonder what would have happened if Evelyn hadn't asked about the police report? I consider this as we head toward the car. I think the truth would have found its way out eventually. It was too big to stay buried forever. What would you do if you discovered a family member had been lying to you for years? Would you confront them directly or gather evidence first? I stand alone at the edge of the reception hall watching my sister Sierra float across the dance floor in her cream-colored gown that probably cost more than some people's cars. The Four Seasons Chicago ballroom drips with crystal chandeliers and elaborate floral arrangements in white and gold. Everything about this wedding screams excess. My navy dress feels suddenly plain among the sequins and designer labels that populate the room. I adjust the slim gold bracelet at my wrist grandmother's, the only family heirloom I was ever given. Sierra throws her head back laughing as her new husband Grant spins her in a practiced waltz. Their movements look rehearsed. Like everything else about this production, 300 guests watch and smile. The perfect couple. The golden child and her investment banker husband. I take a sip of champagne, calculating how much longer I need to stay before making a polite exit. 2 hours down, maybe 2 more to go. Excuse me. A waiter bumps my arm as he rushes past with a tray of hors d'oeuvre. My champagne splashes onto the bodice of my dress, leaving a dark, wet stain across the front. I'm so, he begins, then seems to think better of it when he notices I'm standing alone. No apology follows as he hurries toward a cluster of my father's business associates. I dab at the stain with a cocktail napkin when I spot them approaching. My parents, Janet and Leonard Holloway, wearing identical smiles that don't reach their eyes. Renata, darling. My mother air kisses near my cheek, careful not to smudge her lipstick. Her diamond earrings catch the light as she pulls back. You've been hiding in the corner all evening. My father gives my shoulder a perfunctory squeeze. Nice dress, he says, though his eyes have already moved past me, scanning the room as if looking for more important guests. Beautiful ceremony, I say, because it's expected. Yes, well, Mother's voice drops an octave. Leonard, isn't there something we needed to discuss with Renata? My father's attention snaps back to me. Yes, let's step over here. He gestures toward an alcove near the service entrance, away from the main reception. The knot that forms in my stomach is familiar, the same sensation I've had since childhood whenever they needed to discuss something. Nothing good ever follows. We move to the alcove, where the music is slightly muffled. A waiter passes, avoiding eye contact. My mother waits until he's gone before speaking. We need to talk about your condo, my father says without preamble. My condo? The question comes out sharper than intended. My mother's smile vanishes. Sierra and Grant need a proper home to start their family. What does that have to do with my place? My father shifts his weight, hands in his pockets. We think it would be best if you let them have the Lincoln Park property. The words hang in the air between us. I wait for the punchline that doesn't come. You want me to give them my condo? The question sounds absurd even as I say it. Not give exactly, my mother says, waving her hand dismissively. We'd help you relocate to something more appropriate. We found a nice studio in Cicero, my father adds, closer to the courthouse. My brain struggles to process what they're suggesting. You want me to trade my $1.45 million Lincoln Park condo for a studio in Cicero? You don't need all that space, Renata, my mother says, her voice honeyed but her eyes cold. You're single. The implication lands like a slap. Single, childless, less deserving. For several seconds, I can't speak. The audacity steals my breath. The condo I bought with my own money. The home I created after years of 60-hour work weeks and sacrificed vacations. That condo is my home, I finally say, my voice controlled despite the heat rising in my chest. My mother sighs. It's just rooms and walls, dear. Family sacrifices for family, my father adds, as if reciting from some parental handbook I never received. Sierra and Grant need to establish themselves in the right neighborhood. I notice Judge McAllister across the room, watching our conversation with undisguised interest. Several other guests glance our way, perhaps sensing the tension radiating from our little alcove. Is something wrong? Sierra appears suddenly, champagne glass in hand, her voice deliberately louder than necessary. Grant hovers behind her, looking uncomfortable. Your sister is being difficult, my mother stage whispers. Some things never change. Sierra's eyes narrow, fixing on me with practiced disdain. Again, Renata? Can't you just be happy for me for once without making everything about you? Several nearby guests turn their heads. I spot Carolyn Davis from my law firm, eyebrows raised in curiosity. You've always been jealous, Sierra continues, her voice rising. Remember when she skipped my college graduation, Mom? Or when she screamed at Dad over a tuition check? The whispers spread like fire, half-truths twisted into character assassination. My home is not yours to demand, I say quietly, feeling something snap inside me after years of bending. Sierra's face transforms. The smile vanishes, replaced by something ugly and raw. Her arm moves so quickly I don't have time to step back. The sharp crack of her palm against my cheek echoes in sudden silence. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Someone chuckles nervously. Others stare in shocked silence. My hand rises to my burning cheek as I look past Sierra to my parents. My mother's lips curl in a subtle smirk. My father shrugs indifferently, eyes already drifting toward the bar. Not one family member steps forward in my defense. Not one. And in that moment, standing surrounded by 300 witnesses to my humiliation, something inside me turns to steel. The sting blooms across my cheek like wildfire. Silence drops over the ballroom as if someone cut the power. I touch my face, the heat radiating under my fingertips. My lawyer brain clicks into gear, cataloging witnesses, assessing the situation with surprising clarity. Sierra's triumphant smile begins to falter as her eyes dart around the room. The enormity of what she's done in front of Chicago's legal and business elite dawns on her face. Her wedding dress suddenly looks too tight, too bright, like a costume she's outgrown in the space of a heartbeat. "Let's discuss this somewhere private," my father whispers urgently, his hand reaching for my elbow. I plant my feet firmly on the marble floor. No. The single word carries more weight than any legal argument I've ever crafted. Leonard's face reddens beneath his expensive tan. He's not accustomed to direct refusal, especially not from me. "Stop making a scene," my mother hisses, her diamond earrings catching the light as she leans closer. This is Sierra's day. Across the room, Judge McAllister watches with undisguised concern. Our eyes meet briefly, and I see something I never expected: respect. He gives an almost imperceptible nod before turning to whisper to his wife. "If you give them the condo," my father says, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "we'll invite you home for Christmas. No more awkward holidays." The words hit harder than Sierra's slap. The casual admission that my exclusion from family gatherings has been deliberate all along. Not oversight, not scheduling conflicts. Deliberate. Christmas floods back to me in vivid detail. Last year, sitting alone in my condo with a glass of Cabernet, watching the lights of Chicago twinkle through floor-to-ceiling windows. The text I'd sent that morning, "Merry Christmas," left unanswered, while their Instagram filled with photos of turkey and presents and Sierra opening the earrings I knew cost more than my first car. "We always hoped you'd understand family priorities," my mother adds, her voice honeyed poison. I don't cry. I don't raise my voice. Instead, my fingers reach for my clutch, movements precise and unhurried. The weight of my phone feels substantial in my hand, anchoring me to this moment that will change everything. My thumb moves across the screen with purpose. The message is simple, direct. No embellishment needed. My family demanded I give up my home. My sister slapped me. 180 guests laughed. I select the recipients carefully. My law partners, Judge McAllister, the Chicago Tribune reporter who interviewed me last month about women in corporate law. Send. A soft click from nearby catches my attention. A young woman in a midnight blue cocktail dress lowers her phone, meeting my gaze with a small nod. The video of Sierra's assault already captured, already moving through the digital veins of Chicago society. Across the ballroom, phones begin to chime and vibrate. The soft symphony of notification pings ripples through the crowd. Sierra's smile falters as she notices a cluster of her friends hunched over their screens, whispering urgently. "What's happening?" She turns to Grant, whose face has gone pale as he checks his own phone. My mother moves with surprising speed toward the 5-tier wedding cake, clapping her hands for attention. "Everyone, it's time for the cake cutting. Gather around, please." Her voice rings with forced cheerfulness, but fewer than half the guests respond. Leonard corners two of his biggest clients, his hand gestures growing increasingly animated as they back away, making excuses. Judge McAllister catches my eye again as he gathers his coat and his wife's wrap. He pauses on his way to the exit, stopping a respectful distance from me. "Miss Holloway," he says quietly, "I look forward to seeing you in court next week." The words are mundane, but his tone conveys volumes. A gentle acknowledgement of my dignity. "Thank you, Your Honor," I reply, my voice steadier than I expected. I turn toward the coat check, movements measured and deliberate. No rushing, no fleeing. My grandmother's bracelet catches the light as I gather my wrap. 300 people watch as I collect my belongings with the same care I bring to preparing case files. Sierra appears at my elbow, her perfect makeup now slightly smudged at one corner. "What did you just do?" she whispers, panic edging her voice. I meet her eyes directly. I simply told the truth. The words hang between us, solid and immovable. No drama, no shouting, just fact. She opens her mouth, then closes it. For perhaps the first time in her life, Sierra has nothing to say. I walk toward the exit, back straight, pace unhurried. Behind me, the festive bubble of the reception has deflated. Conversations stutter and stop. Music plays to a half-empty dance floor. The carefully orchestrated celebration has fallen apart like a house built on sand. The doorman nods respectfully as I pass. Outside, the November air feels clean against my burning cheek. A taxi pulls up immediately, as if orchestrated by fate. "Lincoln Park, please," I tell the driver, providing my address. As we pull away from the Four Seasons, I don't look back. Some chapters close without ceremony. Some battles are won without raising your voice. In the reflection of the window, I see a woman I barely recognize. Someone who has finally stopped bending. The keycard clicks in the lock of my Lincoln Park condo, and I step inside, letting the heavy door close behind me with a satisfying thud 40 minutes later. Chicago's skyline twinkles through my floor-to-ceiling windows, a constellation of lights against the night sky. I stand for a moment in the darkness of my entryway, breathing in the familiar scent of lemon furniture polish and the faint aroma of the morning's coffee. Home. My home. I flip the switch, and warm light floods the space, illuminating the life I've built plank by plank. The Italian marble countertops I splurged on after winning the Harrington case. The leather sectional where Justice, my cat, now stretches lazily, unimpressed by my dramatic entrance. The wall of law books not for show like the leather-bound classics in my father's study, but worn at the spines from actual use. My fingers trail along the bookshelf as I move through the living room. Constitutional law, contract precedents, women's rights legislation. Each volume represents hours of study, of work, of building something no one could take from me. "They want this, Justice," I tell my cat, who blinks slowly in response. "They think they can just snap their fingers and I'll hand over the keys." I catch my reflection in the window and pause. The mark on my cheek has faded from angry red to a dull pink, but it's still visible, a badge of humiliation. I touch it gently, feeling the heat that lingers there. My phone, which I silenced in the cab ride home, buzzes insistently in my purse. When I finally fish it out, the screen is alive with notifications. Dozens of text messages, missed calls, email alerts, social media notifications. The first text is from Carolyn at the firm. "Are you okay? Video going viral. Call me." Video? I scroll through my messages with increasing disbelief. The Chicago Tribune has already reached out for comment. 3 judges' clerks I know personally have sent supportive messages. The managing partner at my old firm has texted a simple, "Whatever you need, we have your back." With shaking fingers, I open the link Carolyn sent. There it is, Sierra's palm connecting with my cheek, the sound crisp even on my phone speaker. The camera angle captures my parents in the background. My mother's subtle smirk, my father's indifferent shrug. 300 witnesses, and now thousands more. "Wedding assault on prominent attorney," screams the headline from the Chicago Legal Times. My phone begins ringing again, a number I don't recognize. Probably another reporter. I silence it and drop the phone onto the couch. The memory rises unbidden, myself at 16, working weekends at Millie's Diner while my classmates went to football games and parties. The greasy smell that clung to my clothes and hair. The burns on my fingers from the industrial fryer. "We're so proud of how responsible you are," my mother had said, taking the check I handed her. Sierra's private school tuition just went up again. I remember the precise amount. $4,327. Every penny I'd saved that summer. The same summer my father took credit for my clerkship with Judge Brennan. "I put in a good word," he'd told his colleagues at the club, patting my shoulder. I hadn't corrected him, even though I'd secured the position through a blind application process. I walk to the kitchen and pour myself a glass of water, the memory shifting to my law school graduation, the empty seats where my parents should have been. Sierra's fashion show was scheduled months ago. My mother had explained. "You understand, don't you? Your sister really needs our support right now." I always understood. I always accepted. I always gave. I took a shower and went to sleep. Tomorrow is a D-Day for me, and I will not keep my mouth shut anymore. Next morning, my phone buzzes with an email notification. The subject line catches my eye. "Statement from Amber Wave, par regarding Sierra Holloway." I open it, curious despite myself. Amber Wave Public Relations has placed Sierra Holloway on immediate administrative leave pending investigation of a physical altercation at her wedding reception. As an agency representing several women's empowerment initiatives, we have zero tolerance for violence in any context. We are reviewing the situation, and will take appropriate action. The glass nearly slips from my hand. Another notification appears: a news alert. Grant's real estate brokerage is investigating the incident involving a family member of one of our agents. My colleague Martin has sent a firm-wide email expressing full support for Renata Holloway's professional integrity during this personal matter. The Women's Legal Alliance has reached out about sharing your story of standing up to family financial exploitation. It's happening so fast. The consequences I never sought, but perhaps in some corner of my soul always wanted. Recognition of the pattern I've endured for decades. Sacrifice demanded, never acknowledged. How different our lives turned out. Sierra, with her Instagram following and PR Joba, carefully curated image funded by parental support and my silent contributions. Me with my law degree and my practice, built dollar by difficult dollar, case by challenging case. My phone rings again, this time with my building's security desk. "Miss Holloway, there's someone here insisting on seeing you. Says she's your sister." My heart jumps, but my voice remains steady. I don't want to see her. I walk to my security monitor and press the button to view the lobby camera feed. The image that appears stops my breath. Sierra stands swaying slightly, in old jeans and blouse with a cap on her head, though it's now stained with what looks her makeup has smeared into dark rivers down her cheeks. Her perfectly arranged hair now hangs in loose strands around her face. "Please," her voice crackles through the intercom. "Renata, I know you're there. I didn't mean it. Help me fix this." The contrast is stark, the radiant bride of yesterday reduced to this desperate figure. My finger hovers over the intercom button. Grant is furious. Dad isn't answering his phone. Mom keeps crying. "Please, I need your help. You always know how to fix things." I watch her silently. The golden child. The favorite. Now looking up at my camera with pleading eyes. "Renata, please say something. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. We don't need your stupid condo. Just help me make this go away." My hand falls away from the intercom. I press the button that turns off the security monitor, plunging the screen into darkness. In the sudden silence of my home, Justice jumps onto the counter beside me, purring softly as he rubs against my arm. I scratch behind his ears, listening to the quiet of my sanctuary. "Not today," I whisper to no one in particular. "Maybe not ever." Next morning, my phone buzzes me awake at 5:30 a.m., not my alarm, but notifications. Hundreds of them cascade across my screen like a digital waterfall. I blink sleep from my eyes and reach for my reading glasses on the nightstand. Text messages from law school friends I haven't spoken to in years. LinkedIn notifications from partners at competing firms. Email alerts from news outlets requesting comment. The subject line from the Chicago Tribune stops my breath. "Attorney assaulted at sister's wedding after refusing to surrender home." I sit up, fully awake now. Justice, my cat, stretches beside me, oblivious to how our world has shifted overnight. I scratch behind his ears as I scan the flood of messages. "Saw the video. Are you okay?" From Judge McAllister. "That was assault. Clear as day. From Caroline at the firm. Your sister just lost 10,000 followers in 12 hours. From my paralegal Beth." I pull up Sierra's Instagram profile. Her follower count shows a precipitous drop since yesterday. The comments on her latest wedding photo have been disabled. Her perfect day narrative crumbling under the weight of truth. My phone rings. A Chicago number I don't recognize. I decline it, only for another to immediately take its place. I switch to Do Not Disturb as I pad to the kitchen for coffee. While the coffee brews, I check my email. Grant's real estate firm has sent a public statement announcing an ethics inquiry into his involvement in an alleged family property dispute. Leonard's largest architecture client has sent a politely worded email, postponing their scheduled meeting next week. Janet's Country Club has issued a formal membership review notice. The Holloway's carefully constructed social facade is cracking under pressure. One slap revealed what's been hiding beneath the surface all along. I shower and dress with particular care: charcoal suit, crisp white blouse, grandmother's gold bracelet. The mark on my cheek has faded to a slight discoloration, easily covered with makeup. The memory hasn't faded as easily. When I arrive at Holloway Legal Solutions later that morning, Marissa at reception hands me a stack of message slips. "These came in before we opened," she says. Her eyes are sympathetic but not pitying. "And these 3 new client consultations specifically requested you." I nod my thanks and head to my office. Through the glass walls, I see my colleagues watching me with unspoken support. No one mentions the wedding, respecting my privacy while silently acknowledging what happened. Around 10, my phone lights up with a private message from Judge McAllister. Your dignity under pressure speaks volumes. Some battles must be fought in the open. 3 news outlets call before lunch. My assistant declines them all. At noon, I issue a single statement through the firm's social media accounts. Family disputes should never involve physical aggression or property demands. I'm grateful for the support and request privacy at this time. Direct, factual, no emotional appeals, no accusations, just truth. My computer pings with a notification. Sierra has posted a video on Instagram. Her face tear-streaked, her voice breaking as she explains how the incident was taken out of context and how family misunderstandings were weaponized against her. The comment section fills faster than she can delete them. We all saw what happened. You demanded her home and then slapped her. Gaslighting 101. I close the browser window. I don't need to watch her performance. Next day at work, my phone vibrates with texts from Beth. Janet's usual Thursday lunch group at Le Colonial has suddenly found reasons to cancel. Leonard's business partner has suggested a temporary step back from client relations. A video shows Grant's BMW being repossessed from their apartment parking lot as a small crowd watches. The wedding gifts are being returned by multiple guests. I learned this from my former professor who was in attendance. The honeymoon cruise has been canceled by the couple themselves, according to the travel agency where my college roommate works. I sit with this information, letting it wash over me without drowning in it. Their choices, their consequences. My phone lights up again. Janet's name on the screen. The first of what becomes a cascade of increasingly frantic messages. This is being blown out of proportion. You need to clarify what happened. We're family, Renata. Your father and I expect you to fix this. Then Leonard. Our attorney will be in touch about defamation. I forward his message to our litigation team. Their response comes within minutes. A meticulously drafted letter reminding Leonard that truth is an absolute defense to defamation, and that his communication could be construed as witness intimidation. No further legal threats materialize. Sierra's voicemails alternate between tearful apologies and accusations. I'm sorry I lost my temper, followed by, you've always been jealous of me in the very next message. Grant calls once. Renata, I've been looking at properties. I could find you an even better condo. Better view, better everything. I don't respond to any of them. At 7, Caroline knocks on my office door. A few of us are having dinner at Miller and Connie's. Nothing fancy, just support. I almost decline out of habit, then reconsider. Give me 10 minutes to finish this brief. The restaurant is warm, intimate. 6 of my colleagues raise their glasses as I join them. Not to make a spectacle, but to acknowledge something important has shifted. My phone buzzes with new messages, not family this time, but former clients. Your integrity helped me fight for my business. Now I see you fight for yourself. Thank you. You taught me to stand firm when everyone wanted me to back down. Watching you do the same. A message from a second-year law student. Your stand against family financial abuse inspired me. I'm doing my thesis on family property rights. Women I've never met sharing similar stories of exploitation, thanking me for making their private struggles visible. I look around at the table of colleagues who've become friends, at the messages from a community I didn't realize I had built, at the life I've created through my own efforts. For the first time, I understand that family isn't just what you're born into. It's what you choose, what you build, what you protect. And sometimes, what you refuse to surrender. 3 days later, I straighten the folders on the conference table for the 3rd time. Each one contains identical documentation bank statements, email printouts, text messages, and holiday cards addressed to me that were never sent. The evidence of years spent as an afterthought in my own family. My law partner Elaine touches my shoulder. They're here. Want me to stay? Please. My voice remains steady despite the flutter in my stomach. And ask Marcus to join us. The receptionist shows my parents into our firm's main conference room. They hesitate at the doorway. Mother's hand flutters to her pearl necklace, while father's eyes dart around the room, taking in the sleek furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Michigan Avenue. Renata. Mother steps forward with arms outstretched as if this were a social call. This has all been such a misunderstanding. I remain seated. Thank you for coming. Would either of you like water? They exchange glances, thrown off by my formality. Father clears his throat. We don't need refreshments. We need to discuss this circus you've created. Please sit. I gesture to the chairs across from me, not beside me. They settle awkwardly as Elaine and Marcus enter, introducing themselves as my partners. Mother's smile turns brittle. Father's jaw clenches. Is this really necessary? Mother asks. Having your colleagues present for a family matter? This stopped being just a family matter when Sierra slapped me in front of 300 people. Father leans forward. About that. The video has been taken completely out of context. Sierra was emotional on her wedding day. You know how sensitive she is. And you've always been one to hold grudges, Mother adds, her voice honey over glass. You could end this right now with a simple statement that it was all exaggerated. I tilt my head. Exaggerated how? The slap was recorded. Dozens of witnesses heard your demand that I surrender my home. For heaven's sake, Renata, Father's voice rises. We've been telling everyone at the club that you're going through some sort of breakdown. People are sympathetic. Just let us help you walk this back. I fold my hands on the table. And what would I get in return for this public recantation? Mother brightens, sensing an opening. We'd forgive you, of course. Christmas at the house this year, your place back in the family. That's what you've always wanted, isn't it? The question hangs between us. Years ago, it might have worked. Today, I simply reach for the folders. Before we discuss any kind of statement, I'd like to show you something. I slide a folder across the polished surface. Father flips it open impatiently, then freezes. The first document shows my payments toward Sierra's college tuition. I explain. $70,000 over 4 years. The second is an email where you, Dad, took credit for connecting me with Judge McAllister, though he was actually my law professor. Mother's face pales as she peers at the contents. Where did you get these? I've kept records. Force of habit. I tap the next page. Here are 3 years of holiday invitations that were supposedly lost in the mail. And my personal favorite, your text messages, Mom. Dismissing my firm's opening as playing at being a lawyer while you spent $30,000 on Sierra's wedding dress. The room falls silent except for the soft rustle of papers. Marcus and Elaine sit perfectly still, professional witnesses to this family autopsy. You had no right to compile this dossier. Father's voice has lost its authority. I had every right. Just as I have every right to set terms for any future relationship between us. Mother's eyes widen. Terms? Yes. First, I require a public apology for the events at the wedding. Second, I expect basic respect for my property and career choices. Third, family therapy before any holidays or reunions. And finally, my condo is never to be discussed as something available for Sierra or anyone else. Father stands abruptly. This is outrageous. You don't dictate terms to your parents. We raised you, gave you everything. Did you? I remain seated, my voice level. Look at the financial records again. Notice who supported whom. How dare you? His face flushes crimson. After everything we've done, you've always been difficult, always the problem child. Sierra was right, you're jealous of her happiness. The mask finally slips. Mother no longer bothers to dab at manufactured tears. Real ones spill down her cheeks, smearing her carefully applied makeup. You'll regret this, Father hisses. When you're alone with your precious condo and your cold legal briefs instead of family, you'll regret this. I study him, seeing clearly the man behind the patriarch facade. I would have helped you. I really would have. You had asked with respect instead of entitlement. I would have found them a place, loaned them money, used my connections. But you assumed ownership of what's mine, just as you always have. Mother stands, collecting her purse with trembling hands. Come, Leonard, she's made her choice. They move toward the door. The once powerful parent suddenly diminished in the space of my creation. Renata, Mother says, pausing at the threshold. For a moment, I see something genuine in her eyes, confusion, perhaps even regret. But she simply straightens her jacket and follows Father out. The heavy glass door swings shut behind them. The family facade, maintained for decades, lies in ruins. Elaine squeezes my shoulder. You okay? I nod, gathering the scattered evidence of a lifetime of small betrayals. Better than okay, I answer, surprised to find it's true. For the first time in 35 years, I feel like I can breathe. I stand in the doorway of what used to be my home office, watching as sunlight streams through the newly installed floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. 6 months have passed since the wedding. 6 months since everything changed. What do you think, Miss Holloway? The carpenter adjusts his tool belt. Those recessed lights really showcase your law collection. Perfect. My fingers trail along the smooth cherry wood. And please, call me Renata. He nods, packing his tools. The space bears no resemblance to the sterile office where I once drafted contracts until midnight. Now, a round conference table occupies the center, surrounded by comfortable chairs. A small refrigerator stands stocked with water and snacks. The walls, once bare except for my diplomas, now display framed photographs of courthouse architecture from across America. The space I supposedly didn't need has found its purpose. After the carpenter leaves, I move to the guest bedroom across the hall. Fresh linens adorn the twin beds, and a small desk sits beneath the window overlooking Lake Michigan. Tomorrow, Amelia arrives, a second-year law student from Northwestern who can't afford Chicago summer housing while she interns at the public defender's office. My phone buzzes with a text from Caroline, my office manager. 3 more inquiries about property dispute consultations. Your calendar is booked fully. Time to hire another associate? I smile, texting back. Start interviews next week. What began as a single pro bono case has transformed into the fastest-growing practice area at my firm. Family property rights and boundaries now takes up half our billable hours. Women like me, professionals whose families view their success as community property, seek me out after hearing about what happened at Sierra's wedding. The Chicago Legal Times profile last month called me the city's premier advocate for financial boundaries within families. The dean at Northwestern Law invited me to create a seminar on ethical family relationships for next spring's curriculum. My phone buzzes again, this time with a reminder about tonight's support group. The Circle of 8 meets monthly in a quiet room above a bookstore in Wicker Park. Adult children of manipulative parents. When Dr. Freeman first suggested it, I laughed. Now I can't imagine missing a session. Last month I finally shared the full wedding story. The relief of speaking those words aloud to people who truly understood swept through me like a physical force. Margaret, a retired teacher, hugged me afterward. You stood your ground without becoming bitter. That's the hardest part. I check my watch. 2 hours until I meet Sierra at Sawyer's Cafe. Our third coffee since her apology. Each meeting slightly less awkward than the last. Her first words, delivered on a park bench 3 months ago, still echo. I've been thinking about why I hit you. It wasn't about the condo. It was because you finally said no. I chose a response that honored both truth and possibility. I'm willing to try again, but with real boundaries this time. The doorbell rings. My neighbor Judith stands outside with a stack of mail that was delivered to her by mistake. We chat briefly about the building association meeting. As she turns to leave, she pauses. Your headache's better? You're standing taller these days. I blink, surprised. They are, actually. Haven't had one in weeks. After she leaves, I catch my reflection in the hallway mirror. My shoulders rest easy, pulled back rather than hunched forward. The permanent furrow between my eyebrows has softened. Doctor Freeman pointed it out last session. Your body believes you're safe now. Later that evening, after returning from coffee with Sierra meeting where we managed actual laughter over a shared childhood memory, I stand at my living room window watching Chicago light up for the night. My chosen family will gather here tomorrow, colleagues, friends, Dr. Freeman, even Judge McAllister, who's become a mentor. The doorbell chimes. Amelia stands outside with her suitcase and backpack, looking exhausted from her bus journey from Michigan. Sorry I'm early, she says, uncertainty in her voice. The bus schedule changed. My hand brushes the doorframe, feeling its solidity beneath my fingers. This threshold that my parents thought I should surrender. This space they believed I had no right to claim. Welcome, I tell her, stepping aside. This space was always meant for something meaningful.